My salvation.
A talking fish? Nope. Ain't no way.
I did not expect to enjoy this game for multiple reasons, but South of Midnight might be the most creative game from a world building and narrative standpoint that Microsoft has published in over a decade. First of all, I am not a fan of stop motion, and you can turn it off in the gameplay, thankfully. Even so, it is done very well for the cutscenes. It's not overly jerky like you see from some of the old animated movies, and it plays in perfectly to the art design. The world that was crafted here is a new fairy tale with that darkness that looms in the shadows and the brightness that shines through. South of Midnight takes place in the South, and as someone from the South, I was very surprised by the small details that they get right. Like handmade quilts on beds, the morning fog, and the look and feel of a humid atmosphere. As you journey through the swamps and woods, you come across old rundown shacks with kudzu and vines growing on them and the trees. The world is stunning. You play as Hazel Flood, and her journey takes you through a small town that a hurricane has damaged, then the mountains and swamps where myths and monsters reside. One of the first unique creatures that Hazel meets in the game is the narrator.
Whoa! Pardon my mud. What'd you see? Tell me all the juicy details.
Which is a giant talking catfish that looks like it is a patchwork quilt. The voice actor does an amazing job with that Cajun-style accent, and he has that southern charm that makes him a believable character. That is a theme that continues throughout the game. Even the monsters that don't talk, you can see their emotions. Now the music does have that southern style. For the most part, it is great, except for the songs that tell a story. The songwriting here is bad. Even though the music is good, without decent writing, they fall flat.
He saw things different, he was my shade, and I said goodbye.
Now, I have to say that they nailed the ambient sounds. Hearing whipperwills, frogs, and crickets at night sounds like I just walked out my back door. South of Midnight has a dark side and a deep sadness to its beautiful world. So many of the game's characters hide dark secrets that feeds the darkness called haints, the enemies you fight throughout the entire game.
Secrets are a terrible burden. That's why I'm so eager to help.
Hazel can see these because she is a weaver. She is the first in a long time since Mahalia, who helps to guide her at times when she needs it. Now, I'm not going to touch too much on the story because this is the biggest draw of the game. And it's why I found it hard to put the controller down even though the combat is not great. It suffers from a lack of variety in the moves that you have, and how each battle plays out. You gain all of your base moves pretty early on, and even though they can be upgraded, it doesn't change much in how you play the game. Every battle starts with you entering a zone and just fighting the haints until you can unweave their knots. Rinse and repeat. The boss battles, on the other hand, are a different story. They are pretty good with that classic phase structure from old school platformers. Dodging big moves, waiting for your opening, and just a few mistakes and it's game over. When it comes to moving around the world, that is something I also did not expect. It's like Infamous Light. The movement is smooth. You have to climb, jump, dash, wall run, and glide across gaps. Moving through the world and searching for items and just exploring is a great part of the game. But it just happens to get interrupted by the boring combat. But there is a silver lining here. There are multiple difficulties. If you find the combat really boring like I did, just drop the difficulty down and speed up those moments. So, wrapping things up on South of Midnight. This was a game that I did not expect to enjoy. It's definitely a game of contrast though. On one hand, you have the absolutely stunning atmospheric world steeped in that Southern Gothic charm and authentic detail. The art style is unique, the character designs are memorable, especially the patchwork catfish. And the story, which I barely scratched the surface of to avoid spoilers, is deeply compelling, mysterious, and it was the main reason that I found it so hard to put the controller down. How does this balance out in the score with my weighted system? Here's the breakdown. For the story, it gets a 95. The visuals, a 91. Sound gets an 85, and then gameplay, a 72. Now, considering gameplay holds the most weight in my system, adding all of that up gives South of Midnight a final score of 82. If you want more info on my scoring system, It's in the description. Thanks for watching. Would you kindly leave a like and subscribe, and I will talk to y'all later.